Hey everybody, welcome to Hear Us Out. It's me, Patrick. You're stuck with me today because Paul is off on special assignment. I'm going to be talking to you about the DCU, James Gunn and Peter Safran's great new venture that was supposed to be the phoenix rising from the ashes of the DCEU. But specifically, I'm going to talk about Supergirl and what I think the DCU needs to do next. This could get interesting.
Here's the thing.
So yeah, Supergirl is out. Let's do a quick recap. So James Gunn, Peter Safran, James Gunn being the big name in the creative side, headed up DCU. We were moving away from the old DCEU, which stood for DC Extended Universe, which was the old Snyder, Whedon, Justice League, Henry Cavill, Superman, Ben Affleck, Batman. Lots of things to like. Gal Gadot, Wonder Woman. Some great movies there. Wonder Woman was three-quarters of a brilliant movie. Again, had the problem with how to do the final fight and ending. I really liked Batman, Ben Affleck, Batfleck. A lot of people still maintain that the best Superman is Henry Cavill, but here we are today because there's all the low points is the Birds of Prey, Suicide Squads movies. There was lots of messing around The Flash not being the least of it. Lots of things that didn't quite work. So here we are, after a reboot into the new universe with its shortened title of DCU. Just the DC universe. Superman did okay. Last year, we talked about it on this channel. David Cornsweet, good job. Great job. We got a Superman movie that didn't destroy anything. That's what we needed. We knew that it didn't have to be amazing. It just had to be not bad. And I think it fulfilled that brief. Paul liked it more than I did. Lots of people have mixed feelings about it. It was successful enough. It's not a billion-dollar movie. It's also not something that every single fan loved or every single moviegoer bought into. But enough people did. The job was done. Yay, step one. Well done. Thumbs up for you, Mr. James Gunn. Now, tricky second album time, especially since the first movie had Crypto, the super dog, as a lot of lay people, I guess, a lot of normal people would say Superdog was in it. Well, Crypto, we got an explanation as to why Superman had Crypto. Crypto had Superman, so Superman had Crypto because Millie Alcock's Supergirl showed up at the end of that movie as, cousin Kara, whose dog it really was, opening the door to what were we going to get next? We were going to get Supergirl, Woman of Tomorrow. Awesome. Excellent. Rejoicing in many, many areas. Obviously, the usual non-rejoicing in areas of the internet that are, I'm just going to go ahead and say they're occupied by idiots who are freaked out by any female lead ever, or start wondering if Millie Alcock's attractive enough for the role, or all the other weird crap that they pull. Seemed like good casting to me. Trailers were okay. I had positive feelings and negative feelings around the trailers. Lots of things confused me. But hey, we were going to get a Supergirl movie. And boy howdy, we got a Supergirl movie. And it's good. People don't like it. It's not making money. At time of watching this, if you watch this in a few weeks, it'll be gone from all cinemas. Yikes. So, tricky second album didn't work out. Without going too deep into Supergirl, because that's a whole separate video, how about we just look at it from the DCU angle, point of view? There's trouble now, because you've had one adequate film that some people thought was great and others thought was just adequate or adequate plus. But it did introduce, rather surprisingly, a lot of people thought for Superman first movie, let's say it wasn't an origin story. You had your Superman, Green Lanterns existed, there were the Hawk people, all sorts of stuff. So you were in a pretty superpowered world at that point. Mr. Terrific, it's all there. And fair play to Gunn, he really swung for the fences and some of the stuff. And honestly, that's some of the stuff that I didn't like too much in the end. But Supergirl, it was going to be a clean slate for me. I'll watch this, different story. Now that it hasn't worked, there's a rush to blame the Neanderthals and the internet. And I blame them for the world not being the wonderful place it could be. So let me make that clear. They're idiots. I think those people who talked bad about the film before they'd seen frame one of it, um, just because they don't like female superheroes or any of that stuff, yeah. But to say that they're the reason this hasn't worked, I think is looking a little too short. Supergirl was never likely to capture the imagination of all the regular fans that it needed. I thought it was a strange choice for a second film, but you know what? I'm here for brave choices. And we've talked about it in the channel before. The DCU has a good chance to not be Marvel by going its own way, doing its own thing, having the the Von Batman universe, Battinson, having that Batman, and obviously there was previously the Joaquin Phoenix Joker, which God, if they'd never made a second film, how much we would remember that so fondly. Doing different things is what we were hoping for, and it's what we got. This is maybe just not a successful execution of doing different things. So, what do I think the DCU has to do? I'm not going to say to pull out of this nosedive, but to make sure it doesn't go into one. Number one thing, quality control. James Gunn talked a big game about we're not going to go ahead with any movies that don't have a script. Script has to be locked down. It has to be all good. I think that's in general a good idea, but more now than ever. My worry would be who's actually reading these scripts and really objectively looking at them to see if, oh, I don't know, they are really going to translate and work well on screen. Number one, quality control. Tighten it up. If you are doing it only when scripts are locked down, maybe don't lock down your scripts until they're good enough. I know schedules exist. I know pressures exist. But this kind of damage, the DC universe is not going to have the same 10, 12, 15-year period to recuperate the way the DCEU did. That was the height. That was when Marvel could do no wrong. That's when everybody was floating. The tide had raised all ships. That ain't the case now. This is everybody, every super person for themselves. Quality control, number one. Number two, I love the fans. I am one of the fans. Although a lot of people will say, well, what kind of fan are you? Are you original comic book fan? Are you animated fan? Are you whatever? All of the fans do not need to be front and center when it comes to the conversation about whether or not you're making a good enough movie. Yes, do not ignore the fans. Absolutely taking titles and doing some of what they did here and moving too far away from the source material for some people's liking, not a great idea. But start thinking, can we make a movie that has a broad enough appeal because it's a good movie, a broad enough appeal to get the fans who will show up? The money that Supergirl makes will be predominantly from fans. It just will be. Be that, 51% to 49%, or as I more likely think it, 80% to 20%. I think fans are important, but we're starting to see an era now where they're being given too much consideration over the idea of, are we making a quality movie that can appeal to lots of people? And I don't mean write for lots of appeal. I mean, don't try and think too niche. Make sure your story is good. It's going to make sense. It's going to stand up. Superpowers are not going to come and go conveniently just to try and make your movie exciting. Because yes, that will annoy fans, but it will really lose. I'm going to go on to number 3. Treat the people who are going to come and see your movie like they are going to go and see The Dark Knight. Treat everybody like they're a film student. And I mean this, sometimes you're going to get Joey Dum Dum who, is going to have popcorn stuck up his nose by the end of the showing. You're going to get those people that will come. But I think we're starting to assume that audiences are too dumb. And I think that movie companies or producers are starting to take that for granted. I think they're actually not only trying to dumb down too, but I actually think they're not raising the bar for the audiences. The Dark Knight is a masterpiece and a classic. Everybody agrees. And let's not only due to Heath Ledger's performance, although that is a huge, huge part of it. You can't do this sort of thing. If they release, or when they release Superman 2, Man of Tomorrow, however they title it, you gotta make sure, that it's the caliber of movie that it needs to reinstill confidence. Iron Man came out, and people were like, "Oh, well, Iron Man 2 wasn't very good. And Iron Man 3 wasn't even." Yeah, different times, folks. Iron Man 1 was so good, so surprising, so new. We'd had X Men and Blade set up the idea of superhero movies over a period of time in a very diligent and dedicated way, for then Iron Man to come along and really light the fuse. And then by the time you got through, the wonderful first Avenger, in my opinion, Captain America, by the time we'd gotten some solo films and we were looking at an Avengers, it was primed to start what we then saw, which ended up being the Infinity Saga at its climax, because Endgame was the peak. DC don't need to copy. Keep doing your own thing, but up the quality. Don't talk down to fans, but don't talk down to regular people. Make sure we're seeing a movie that's good enough and is not just colorful candy or convenient plot holes, or this is how we'll keep raising and lowering stakes from scene to scene for the sake of it. If they do that, if we get another Blue Beetle, another Flash, another Harley Quinn Birds of Prey movie, if we get Aquaman 2, we get more of these things. That's it. There's going to be no DCU to worry about. They're going to have to stop and wait a while and then try and reboot it again with a new acronym. What, DCSU, the DC sorry for what we did before universe. Yeah, this is your chance. Stop. If it means missing a year, if it means delaying all your schedules, if it means stopping things that are in production, if Clayface isn't going to work the way they hope, and I think Clayface could be that great Joker moment all over again. But get your stuff together, and if you're going to cross your Battinson and your Corn Sweat Superman, then take it seriously as to how you're going to do it. Work out how to have a Wonder Woman at that point. Work out who you really want to focus on and bring into your universe if you're going to start going the Marvel formula of meetups, team ups, and crossovers. Anyway, I think this qualifies as a rant. I think you should let me know what you think in the comments down below. I have been Patrick, and I've been ranting probably way too much, but I think you can see that I really want the DC universe to work. I really do. I might be, traditionally more the Marvel guy. I really, really, really do want DC to work. I don't think that we can go through too many more of these things. I'm a superhero movie fan. It's really hard keeping regular people on board when Marvel does stuff like Ant-Man, Quantum Mania, when we have bad, bad movies from all the different studios. I'm looking at you here, Sony, with Morbius and Madam Web. Oh gosh, Craven. Yeah, the hits keep coming. So, folks, let me know if you think I'm way off base, that quality control just wasn't there, and if you feel like me that maybe they're thinking too much about fans, but in the wrong way, and then really not thinking enough about the normal viewing public in the right way. And with that, rant over. I've been Patrick. This has been Hear Us Out, and we'll see you next week. Bye bye.